I was 16 when I first met her in the quiet hallways of our high school. She smiled at me like I was someone special, someone worth looking at, someone worth loving, and I, being just another ordinary boy with broken dreams and silent fears, started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I deserved a little bit of happiness too. We talked for hours at lunch, we walked home sometimes, and I would count every step just to make the moments last longer. I fell for her in the way a leaf falls from a tree, slowly and then all at once. But I never told her how deeply she had rooted herself in my world. She had this way of laughing like nothing could hurt her, like the world was full of light and she was its source. And I, who had only known darkness and quiet pain, started to feel alive just by being near her. We became best friends, shared everything from childhood stories to silent secrets. She would tell me about her dreams of college and travel, and I would listen like a boy listens to music for the first time. Not knowing the words, but feeling every note, she made me believe in things I had, long forgotten, like trust, like love, like forever. I came from a broken home, a father who left when I was 9, a mother who worked 2 jobs and still went to bed crying some nights. The house always felt too cold, too quiet, too lonely. But when I was with her, the silence inside me melted like snow under sunlight. She would sit beside me in the park and draw little hearts on my hand, and I would pretend I didn't care, while my heartbeat screamed her name. She made me want to write poetry. Though I never showed her any, she made me want to be better. Not for the world, but just for her. We stayed close for 2 years, through school stress, through family fights, through everything, but I never confessed my feelings. I thought I had time, I thought I had forever. And then one day everything changed. She told me she was moving with her family to another state. Her dad got a job in Seattle, and they were leaving in 2 weeks. And suddenly the ground beneath me disappeared. I smiled and said I was happy for her. I said I would miss her. But I didn't say what my heart was screaming. Please, don't go, please stay, please don't leave me behind. The last day I saw her, she hugged me tightly and said, I'll see you again, I promise. And I nodded, trying to believe that some promises don't break. She gave me a small notebook, said, keep writing, don't stop dreaming. And then she was gone. Just like that. Like a candle blown out by the wind, and my world that had just started to shine went dark again. I would sit by the same park bench where we used to meet and wait, as if she might walk up one more time and say surprise. I never left, but the wind only brought silence and memories. I texted her often in the beginning. She replied a little less each day. First, she was busy, then she forgot. Then her replies turned into emojis, and then into nothing at all. I saw her updates on social media, smiling with new friends in a new city, while I sat in the same room on the same bed, staring at the same ceiling, wondering how people move on so easily, while I am still stuck in a moment that ended months ago. My mother thought I was depressed. Maybe I was. I didn't eat much, didn't talk much, just waited for a message that never came. I started writing letters to her in that notebook she gave me, but I never sent them. I wrote about the little things like the songs we used to sing in the hallway, the way her laugh echoed in my dreams, how every girl I saw now just reminded me of her. In some way, I wrote about how I saw her in every sunset, in every rainy morning, in every quiet night, where the moon looked too sad and the stars too far. I wrote until the pages ran out, until the pen dried, until my tears stopped falling. Not because the pain ended, but because I had grown too used to it. One day I saw a post she had gotten into her dream college and was dating someone new. He looked kind, he looked happy with her, and I stared at that photo for hours, trying to decide if I was happy for her or just broken beyond repair. I didn't hate her. I couldn't. She gave me the only love I'd ever felt. Even if she never knew it, I deleted the post, but it stayed in my mind like a painting you can't unsee. I started avoiding people, started keeping my phone on. Silent, started pretending I was okay when I was not. College came and I moved away, tried to rebuild myself from scratch, but some nights when it gets too quiet, I still hear her laugh like it's hidden in the wind. I still reach for my phone like maybe she'll message after all this time. I walk past bookstores and wonder if she still reads the same authors, if she still draws hearts on her hand, if she ever thinks of me the way I think of her. I've tried dating, but it never feels right, like I'm searching for her in someone else and no one ever fits the way she did. Years have passed now, and I don't even know where she lives or what she dreams about anymore. But a part of me is still that 16-year-old boy, standing on that school staircase, watching the only light in his life walk away. I still carry that notebook she gave me, though the pages are old and torn. It's the only piece of her I have left. I read it sometimes and remember how love once felt, how it once tasted like hope and smelled like wildflowers and sounded like her voice calling my name.
Ryan and Emily had been the best of friends for as long as they could remember. Their bond was so strong that neither of them ever imagined that anything could come between them. They had grown up together, shared their childhood joys and sorrows, and knew each other better than anyone else in the world. For Ryan, Emily was more than a friend. She was the one person who understood him without words, the one person who could make him laugh even on the darkest days. Emily too felt the same. Their friendship was the foundation of their lives. But as they grew older, things started changing. Ryan and Emily found themselves heading in different directions. Ryan completed his education and got a steady job in a city far away from their hometown. Emily, on the other hand, remained in the same place, working on her own career and establishing her life. The distance between them grew, not just physically but emotionally as well. Ryan would visit Emily when he could, but those visits became less frequent. Emily too had become increasingly busy with her work and new people in her life. They no longer spent hours talking about everything under the sun like they used to. What had once been effortless and natural seemed forced now. Ryan began to feel a pang of loneliness, something he had never experienced in his friendship with Emily. He missed the way they used to be. There was a time when Emily's laughter had filled every room they were in, but now it felt like there was an emptiness whenever they spoke. Ryan couldn't quite put his finger on it, but something had shifted. The warmth between them had dimmed, and it left him wondering if it was just a phase or if this was the beginning of something more permanent. Ryan tried reaching out to Emily, but each time it felt like she was pulling away. She was polite but distant. He wondered if she was simply busy or if something else was going on. There were days when he would call her just to talk, but the conversations felt forced. He missed their carefree moments, the inside jokes they shared, and the way they could talk for hours without running out of things to say. Emily seemed different now. Ryan noticed that when they spoke, her voice lacked the excitement it once had. She no longer laughed the way she used to, and her responses were short and impersonal. Ryan had always been able to tell when something was wrong with Emily, but now it felt as though she was shutting him out, and that hurt more than he cared to admit. For weeks Ryan tried to ignore the growing distance. He convinced himself that it was just a phase, that everything would go back to normal soon, but the more he thought about it, the more he realized that he couldn't ignore the truth that Emily was no longer the same person he had known, the truth that their relationship was no longer what it once was. One day Ryan decided he couldn't take it anymore. He had to know the truth. He needed to understand what had changed between them, so he called Emily and asked if they could meet. He had to hear it from her face to face. Emily agreed, and they decided to meet at their favorite coffee shop. As Ryan waited for Emily to arrive, he felt nervous, anxious. His heart was racing and his mind was filled with questions. He didn't know what he was going to hear, but he knew he needed answers. He couldn't live in this uncertainty any longer. He had to know if their friendship was worth saving, if it was worth fighting for. When Emily finally walked into the coffee shop, Ryan Ryan noticed how different she looked. Her smile was forced and her eyes seemed distant, as though she was somewhere else entirely. She sat down across from him, and for a few moments neither of them said anything. The silence between them felt thick, suffocating. Finally Ryan broke the silence. "Emily, what's going on? Why do I feel like we're drifting apart?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Emily sighed, looking down at her coffee cup. She seemed hesitant, as though she wasn't sure how to say what she was feeling. "Ryan," she began softly, "I don't know how to explain it. Things have changed. I've changed. My life has become so busy and I just don't have the time for everything the way I used to. I know it sounds selfish, but I'm just overwhelmed." Ryan felt a sharp pang in his chest. "But what about us? What about our friendship? Has that changed too?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily looked up at him, her eyes filled with sadness. "I don't want to hurt you, Ryan, I really don't," she said, her voice cracking. "But yes, things have changed. I've changed and I'm not sure if I can be the person I was for you anymore. I can't give you the time and attention I once did. I'm not the same person you knew." Ryan sat there in shock, trying to process what she was saying. He had always known that life changes people, but he never imagined it would change Emily like this. He had always thought that no matter what, their bond would remain unbroken, but now he realized how wrong he had been. The pain in his heart was unbearable. He had never imagined a world where Emily wasn't a part of his life in the same way he had always assumed that their friendship would last forever. But now, sitting in front of her, he realized that sometimes relationships fade and sometimes people change. Ryan tried to hold back his tears, but the lump in his throat was too big to swallow. He wanted to scream, to ask why, to demand that they go back to the way things were, but he knew that wasn't possible. Emily had already made up her mind. She had already made peace with the fact that their friendship was no longer what it used to be. "I don't know what to say," Ryan whispered, feeling defeated. Emily reached across the table and placed a hand on his. "I'm sorry, Ryan," she said, her voice full of regret. "I never wanted this to happen, but sometimes life just happens and we have to adapt, even if it means losing things we once held dear." Ryan pulled his hand away from hers, feeling as though the last piece of their connection had just snapped. "I don't know how to move on from this," he admitted. "You were my best friend, Emily. I don't know what to do without you." "I know," Emily replied, her voice thick with emotion, "and I wish things were different, but we can't go back. We have to move forward." Ryan nodded slowly, tears welling up in his eyes. He didn't know how he was going to let go, but he knew he had to. He couldn't hold on to something that wasn't there anymore. As they said their goodbyes that day, Ryan felt a sense of finality in the air. Their friendship, once so strong and unbreakable, had come to an end. But as he walked away from the coffee shop, he realized that sometimes letting go is the only way to move forward. In the weeks that followed, Ryan struggled with the emptiness that Emily's absence left in his life. It wasn't easy, and there were days when he wanted to pick up the phone and call her to hear her voice again, but he knew that it would never be the same. The friendship they once shared was a part of the past, and now he had to find a way to live without it. Ryan learned a valuable lesson during this time, the lesson that people change, relationships evolve, and not all bonds are meant to last forever. He came to understand that sometimes holding on too tightly only causes more pain, and sometimes the best thing you can do is to let go and trust that life will lead you to where you're